The king killed a shaver every week because he had a horn on his head. He didn't want anyone to know about it, so he sent men to catch a new shaver each week, as none of them ever returned. Everyone was afraid. One day, the king's soldiers came to the village again, and a boy had the misfortune of being chosen. Before he left, his mother packed him 3 pancakes. After a long journey, the boy was taken to the king's tent. The soldiers left one by one. The king handed the boy a knife, took off his hat, and revealed his long horns. The boy was startled, but he had a job to do. He was young, but more skilled than most. With careful precision, he shaved the king's round head. The king examined the knife and was pleased with the boy's work. Then, he offered the boy a chest of jewelry. When the boy opened it, he found it empty. The king took advantage of his distraction and pushed him into the chest. Beneath the chest was a cave with no bottom. The underground river surged violently, ready to swallow him whole. The king watched as the boy was swept into the cave, then closed the chest. Fortunately, the boy survived, but from the mountain of skulls piled nearby, he realized his chances were grim. As he adjusted his hat, he felt something move beneath him. He stepped back in fear. It was a giant python. Desperate, the boy took out the flute his mother had given him and played. The melody was so beautiful that the python twisted and turned. Enchanted. Eventually, the serpent became docile. This python had a taste for human flesh, but when the boy offered it a pancake, it devoured the food instead. After that, the python could no longer bear to eat him. Instead, it helped him escape the cave. As the boy stepped outside, the python hoped for another pancake, but the boy simply waved and left. The python watched him go, deep in thought. As the boy continued on his journey, a sudden rustling in the bushes startled him. A wolf leapt out, its sharp teeth glinting. Frightened, the boy climbed a tree while the old wolf barked below. He took out his flute and played once more. The wolf, unable to resist the melody, danced wildly. So lost in the rhythm, it crashed into the tree, shaking it violently. The boy lost his grip and fell onto the wolf's back. At that moment, the wolf's stomach growled with hunger. Thinking quickly, the boy pulled out another pancake. The wolf devoured it, sparing him. In gratitude, the wolf allowed the boy to ride on its back. Late at night, they reached a house by the lake. The boy dismounted and approached, unaware that the house belonged to an old man-eating witch. The moment the boy arrived, the witch disguised herself as a beautiful woman and welcomed him inside. She offered him a meal, and he sat down, unsuspecting. But as soon as she clapped her hands, ropes shot out and bound him. A pot of boiling water was ready for him. Before his fate was sealed, the boy requested one last wish: to play his flute. The witch, always entertained by music, agreed. As soon as the melody filled the air, the witch's body twisted uncontrollably, and the furniture followed suit. Lost in the moment, she danced wildly. She became so engrossed that she removed her coat, and in an instant, her disguise vanished, revealing her true, hideous form. The boy was horrified. The witch threw her coat away, and suddenly, the dead tree beside the house bloomed with life and fruit. Seizing the opportunity, the boy tried to escape, but the witch wasn't ready to let him go. Desperate once more, the boy offered his final pancake. The witch ate it, and, just like the others, lost the will to harm him. Instead, she took her enchanted coat from the tree and handed it to the boy. This was no ordinary coat. When worn one way, it turned him into a young boy. When reversed, it made him an old man. Realizing its power, the boy saw an opportunity for revenge. A week later, he arrived at the king's castle, disguised as an old man. He declared that he had come to shave the king's head. 2 soldiers led him inside. The king, unable to recognize him, allowed him to proceed. The boy shaved the king's head exactly as before. The king, pleased once again, offered him a chest of jewelry. The old man opened it and said, "I can't possibly spend all the jewelry you've given me." The king was shocked. He rushed forward to inspect the chest himself. In that moment, the old man seized his chance and pushed the king into the cave. Realizing what had happened, the king tried to drag the old man in with him, but the boy had one last trick. He removed his coat, instantly transforming back into his young self. The king missed his chance and fell into his own trap, cursing and screaming as he disappeared into the depths. The soldiers rushed in at the sound of his cries, but the room was empty. By the time they checked, the boy had already slipped away. Disguised as a little boy once more, he walked right past the castle guards unnoticed. Once he was safely outside, he returned to his original form. From that day forward, no shaver ever had to live in fear again.